Hi, this is Mr. Gideon. So now that you know more about the federal budget, as well as deficit, debt, surplus, balanced budgets, and the like, we come back to fiscal policy, which is politicians, policymakers, both the president and more importantly Congress, because this is a constitutional power that they're really granted to change what we decide we're going to tax the American people on, not just in the United States, though. This is a consideration for other countries, as well as how much money is going to go out of the government as we go from year to year and decide whether or not we want to take on any kind of macro activist position in true Keynesian fashion, or from the standpoint of just trying to stabilize an economy and keep the swings in the business cycle from being too extreme. So the government tries to do this through fiscal policy, and the whole point, of course, is to achieve particular economic goals, such as relatively low unemployment, price stability, and economic growth. A couple of key terms here. One is expansionary fiscal policy. So that refers to the government increasing their expenditures on goods and services, and or decreasing its tax level on people in the country, as well as increases in government transfers. These are all what I'll refer to as the tools of fiscal policy. The federal government in any country that would use these tools can use one, two, or all three of them simultaneously, depending on how urgent they feel the need is to have expansionary fiscal policy take place. But of course, expansionary fiscal policy would attempt to reduce the severity of recessions. Contractionary fiscal policy would attempt to do the opposite, to rein in excessively strong expansions, and would use the tools, as I call them, in the opposite direction. So the federal government could decrease government expenditures on goods and services, they could increase taxes, or they could decrease government transfers, or all of the above. A couple of other terms that you need to know are discretionary automatic fiscal policy. So discretionary refers to when these kinds of changes in government expenditures and taxes are brought about by deliberate actions by policymakers rather than rules. Because, as you can see here, automatic fiscal policy says we're not going to leave it to policymakers to use their discretion, their decision-making power as events unfold. Instead, we're going to say we're going to set down rules that will automatically trigger a change if certain economic events take place. So, for example, taxes that depend on disposable income. If we combine these terms on this page, you could have relatively long phrases that describe how the government is approaching the economy and stabilization policies. So you could have discretionary, expansionary fiscal policy, for instance. You could have automatic, expansionary fiscal policy. You could have discretionary, contractionary fiscal policy, as well as automatic, contractionary fiscal policy. For all of these changes, the United States Treasury gets involved, and we'll discuss more about how that takes place later on.